hailed from the Sudan, but he was actually from Windsor, Ontario.
Yeah, wrestling was amazing in that way where it's like, hey, I'm Samoan. Nope, you're Japanese. Like,
let's go. Let's say this. Let's do the podcast. We'll talk this. I love old school wrestling.
I'm recording it.
Oh,
I know what
okay.
I'm doing. And you doing that, let's do it live thing is wonderful.
Let's do it live. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Pat Oates. Pat, what's your podcast?
It's a Pat Oates podcast. And fine, Chad, what the fuck's your podcast?
It's Sit Down Zumock. We are doing a dual podcast, and our guest today from Los Angeles, California, in West Hollywood, the one and only Mr. Earl Skakel.
What's up?
We are covering the entire country. Isn't it wonderful? You're in Florida, Chad?
Yes. I don't know if you read my Wikipedia, but I'm Florida's greatest comedian.
I heard about it on another podcast that you and I were on with 6 people with no talent. It was a lot of fun, and this should be fun. At least we can all hear each other this time. It'll be a good time.
You guys both have an affection for Kamala the wrestler.
I have an affection for all wrestling. My binge watching is old school wrestling. I've been watching every on WWE. I've been watching from Raw 93 on.
Welcome to your soulmates.
That's what I do. I watch wrestling nonstop. We both love Kamala. I was hoping that he was the one running for vice president and not the other Kamala.
Well, he'd probably do a better job, but.
Oh, and the black vote would be huge. A black man with moons on his belly? Are you kidding me? That's the life that matters.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that going well in the debates.
Trump couldn't touch that. That's the one thing he couldn't battle. A giant black man going ooga booga and hitting his belly with another guy with like a safari outfit on. Even Trump wouldn't know what to do with that.
How tall is Kamala? How big was he?
Well, he was 6'6", but lately he was about maybe 5'9".
Now he's 6 feet under.
I mean, exactly. he was really athletic though for a guy who was didn't have a pro bodybuilder type body. Like he could do backflips and
kicks. He can move. Yeah. He really could move around for a guy that was not in shape at all. I mean, it wasn't even like he wasn't a big strong man. He was just a big man, but he could really move. For back then, no one really moved back then. Today's big man, he doesn't move but like back then, he was very agile for somebody he wasn't like Bam Bam, but he was mobile for a big fat dude.
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah. Who was, way ahead of his time. I mean, like that dude would have been amazing now.
Another guy just dead. As soon as his body started breaking down, wrestling just said, get away. We got a new big guy. Beat it, kid.
Big Van Vader was another one. Dead.
Yeah. It's a thing. If you're big and fat and then you try to run around a bunch and don't stop being big and fat, your heart's going to explode. I don't know if you know that. It's not supposed to be big and fat and then stay big and fat and run around.
Or if you're like the Ultimate Warrior and Lex Luger and the Renegade and you do all these steroids.
The Renegade.
Literally make your heart grow. You're going to probably have a heart attack at some point.
The Renegade was the Gallagher 2 of wrestling. You really realize it was just amazing. They're just like, fuck it. It was a great move by Bischoff, and then they go, well, we don't have Ultimate Warrior. Let's just make one up. And it was the poor dude was not ready for that kind of thing and the hate he was going to get. But they said there was a lot of other drugs that went with him. But yeah, Warrior should have died. He's a terrible person.
Well, I met him, and
you met Warrior?
It was awesome. There's a weird record store on Sunset. I don't want to get too local for your viewers, but it's right at the street.
Dude, it's fucking LA. It's not local, it's national.
Well, it's like Sunset and Doheny, Sunset Strip. And,
those are famous streets. It's not like it's Brimfield, Ohio.
If I name streets from where I am in Ansonia, Connecticut, nobody would give a fuck. You have good streets.
So there was this autograph signing that said Ultimate Warrior will be here Saturday from, 4 to 7. And I'm like, wow, it's a weird place for him to do an autograph signing. So I showed up. I was about 300th in line. I'm praying to God nobody saw me in this line because I was the best looking guy in this line by far. And sure enough, I'm the last guy. I go upstairs and he's in full costume.
Now, does Warrior have long hair? Or did he have short hair?
No, he had the short hair, but he was in a full-on sparkly trench coat, the arm tassels, the boots, the Speedos, and he looked great. I mean, he was probably...
Is he the same size as you? How tall is he?
We're about the same height, and he's probably... He was definitely on something because he looked jacked.
So he didn't have Warrior University yet. He wasn't that Warrior.
I signed up for that, man.
Nice.
loved. He kept calling me Earl, and I just couldn't look at him. I was starstruck. I just looked at his feet, and I was just, yes, Mr. Warrior. Nice to meet. I couldn't even look at him.
Mr. Warrior.
Did you
It was
meet
like
Kano Warrior?
It was like meeting Superman.
Yeah.
And, he signed all this stuff for me. I'm like, I didn't pay for that. I just paid for the A package of the poster. He's like, fuck it, give this kid some sweats and give this guy the. So he was very, very nice.
Oh, wow.
You know, I think
Never heard about him being nice. That's kind of cool. You figured he just charged him more.
Yeah, my buddy used to be his entertainment lawyer, and he's like, Earl, don't go. I'm like, why not, man? I mean, probably it's my only chance to meet him. And he's like, he's kind of a dick, and he can get real surly. I'm like, I'm just going to take a chance. I catch him on a good day, and he couldn't have been any nicer.
That's great. That was like when I met Van Hammer.
Man, boy, you really aim high for this WCW.
How did you even know it was him?
He was pumping my gas in Jersey.
Yeah, he was playing air guitar while asking me if I wanted a window wash. It was nice.
But you couldn't line up Norman Smiley?
I met Paul Roma and Tony Gurria because Paul Roma owned a bar near my house in Connecticut.
Pretty Paul Roma?
What?
Pretty Paul Roma?
Yes. And he said, I bumped into him and said, sorry. He goes, are you a lady? And I said, no. He goes, then why are you talking to me? That's all he said to me.
Wow.
It's a good line.
I guess, what if I said yes? I'm a lady. I was like, I should have said yes, I'm a lady, and see what he did.
I actually have a Tony Gurria signed 8x10. I don't want to waste time trying to find it, but it's in my little computer file cabinet. And I was never really a fan, but this girl I knew.
That can't be worth anything.
Are you guys fans of Charlie Norris?
Is that Chuck's kid?
Or like his sister? Like, who's Charlie? Or is a porn star who plays Chuck Norris?
What are you, just naming random people?
Well, according to my research, Wikipedia, when folks think of Native American pro wrestling stars in the 90s, they think of Charlie Norris. That's what I'm saying.
Tonka?
In 93. Tatanka, that's right.
Oh, okay. Nobody knew his fucking name.
Well, listen, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but this is a can't really see it too well, an autographed picture of the bad guy from Cobra.
That guy's awesome.
Did he sign it, the bad guy from Cobra? So you would know who he is?
He's the Night Slasher.
Brian E. Thompson, thank you very much.
Wow. I didn't know we were just going to start this with name dropping. He did Van Hammer and the bad guy from Cobra? Holy shit. People are going to shut this off. They already hated Chad before. They're really going to shut this off now.
Chad's a controversial figure.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I heard so many bad things about Chad before I met Chad, and then we were on that podcast, and I'm like, he was a nice guy. We both sat there and didn't talk. His ski mask friends took hot tub baths. We were fine. It was like,
but you never know. Like, I heard horrible things about Kevin Brennan. Like, oh, you guys wouldn't get along because you're kind of the same personality. Like, you both speak your mind and all that. And usually people don't get along who are the same, and I love them. Like, you know. So.
I've still never met him, even though I was on a podcast with him, because I was told the same thing. You speak your mind, you'll be like, and then he ignored me the entire time. We watched Bob Bickerstaff and some other Jim Stansel eat burgers, and he just didn't listen to me. And then when they reviewed the podcast, he didn't even mention I was on it. So yeah, I can understand what they say about Brennan because he just pretended I didn't exist. So
well, Stansel did a major boo-boo. You don't want to go up against Bob Bickerstaff in an eating contest. It's just not.
Listen,
you're not gonna win.
Stansel also, I'm not that I'm the most in shape guy, but I run every day. I stay in shape. And Stansel has tried to race me every time I see him. And he's a 5'2" fatter Tony Danza. And he keeps saying he's an athlete. He has one calf muscle and he shows it. And it looks like a bull's testicle. And he just shows it and it's big. But he's like, there's one. I'm like, you have one leg. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do? I don't want to race you because there's no winning in this. I either beat you or you somehow beat me. Then I cry. I have no win in this. But yeah, he should be battling bigger. Bickerstaff was born to eat McDonald's.
Oh, he's a machine. Like there's nothing you could train. I don't know how you could train against him in an eating contest.
He did it while hosting the show. I mean, he just kept talking. Like it was nothing to Bob.
Born to Eat, isn't that a Weird Al Yankovic song from?
Is that the Bruce Springsteen cover? Is that what it is? Baby, I was born to eat. Like, that would be great. It's like,
I checked out of his songs after Eat It.
Checked out that early? At Eat It?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big
stay for
fan.
Amish Paradise or anything?
Oh, he's great. It's very talented what he does, but I just, he never really did metal songs. I'm a metal guy, so I didn't really.
So he has to match the genre you enjoy to get the message.
Absolutely. Like if he did a Rat song, maybe Round and Round at Wendy's or whatever it would be.
How did he not? Yeah, he did some. Didn't he do? He did some like monster ballads. That's the closest thing I think.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I can get into it.
I think he did Extreme More Than Words. Didn't I thought he did something like that. I forget what it was. I'm pretty sure I remember like the black and white and him dressed like that in the same way. But I almost saw him live because we were both at the same terrible casino in Verona, New York, Turning Stone Casino. And his show was supposed to be starting an hour after mine did, but then there was like a delay in our show, so I couldn't get over in time. But I would rather watch him than perform for the 8 people I did in Verona.
Well, look who's name dropping now, Pat.
I almost saw him at a shitty casino. And then we both got our shows canceled because Van Hammer was signing autographs outside. So
was nice. Brian Thompson, the Night Slasher, there?
No, but Norman Smiley. Well, I met him at the Beverly Center down the street.
Norman Smiley is so goddamn underrated and should have been pushed so much more. The dude was awesome.
Who's Norman Smiley?
He was the guy in WCW. It was a pretty funny gimmick where he was the hardcore champ, but he hated pain. So, like, anytime he would get hit, he'd be like, ow. But he was a champ. Like,
and he did the wiggle. And he had that little – for a while they had him do his little wiggle dance thing. It was a funny character, but the guy was quite the athlete, but did sell it really well. It made this thing that should have been silly and then stopped being silly again. So, he's a good character.
He told me to fuck off because he was going on the escalator down. I was going up, and I'm like, oh, my God, it's Norman Smiley. Hey, can you do the wiggle? And he's like, fuck off.
Oh, what an asshole! If you're known for the wiggle, you do the wiggle.
Yeah, but you're a black guy in the mall, and some white dude they'll do the wiggle. You don't know what they're saying. It's a weird move.
Yeah,
I tend to compliment people, and the way I mean it, it's a compliment, but they might take it. Like I saw the sensei from Karate Kid, and now
John Kreese.
Yeah, I saw Martin Cove at the newsstand, and I just walked right up to him. I'm like an inch from his face. I'm like, sweep the leg. Do you have a problem with that, Mr. Lawrence? And he just looked at me like, dude, I've been in movies for 30 years. How about something a little more updated? I'm like, sorry, dude. I don't know your IMDb past 1985.
Yeah,
he was in Rambo.
Anything else he was in?
He was in Rambo 2, I think.
Oh, wait, is that the picture they use in Cobra Kai? Is that him from Rambo?
Well, no.
The picture he hangs up where he's in the military?
When he's like this.
With the gun,
they show a picture and he's hanging it up on the wall. Is that a Rambo picture that they're just using? Because I'm guessing they don't have other stock footage of him fighting.
I think he might have been actually he matches the age of someone who would have been in Vietnam.
You think he was in the shit?
Yeah, he was there, man. We weren't.
I don't think he was in the shit. I don't think that guy. I started watching Cobra Kai on Saturday or Friday. I think my kids and I watched both seasons in 2
phenomenal.
Days.
It's fucking phenomenal.
I wanted to hate it. I wanted to hate it.
Earl, did you see it?
Kid.
I binge watched it with Chandler, and I was hesitant because I'm like, they're not gonna because Miami Vice the movie was not good because they didn't pay tribute to the TV show. I mean, I know you'd have to update it because I think that was 2006. You couldn't have an 80s type deal but they could have paid a little, I don't know, homage to it. I think Cobra Kai is the perfect amount of tribute with modern stuff. So I loved it. I'm just hoping in season 3 they bring back the guy from Karate Kid 3 with the ponytail, Terry Silver. He was the bad guy in season 3.
Yeah.
Or, the third one.
Well, I had Mike Barnes, the bad guy. I guess he's a comic. He works at the Comedy Store from time to time. Do you know that dude?
I can assure you Mike Barnes has never set foot on the Comedy Store stage.
He tells me he works up in the belly room from time to time.
Well, if I told you I was, my first acting resume, I was so desperate I was in Star Wars.
What were you in Star Wars, according to your resume?
Well, it was the best lie ever. I was like Stormtrooper number 4. How are you going to check? You literally, they don't in the credits, they don't say who the stormtroopers were. So this is like the perfect lie.
Oh, I would, if someone didn't believe me, I'd stand. You remember this?
Yeah.
Just stand there.
Remember when,
that was me.
You have no speaking lines. You have literally the best lie ever. But
his name's Sean Cannon for the record. Sean Cannon with a K.
I mean, I've been up there quite a while, as you know. I've never seen the bad guy from Karate Kid 3 doing in the audience or on stage.
Who was the weirdest actor person that tried to do comedy there?
Well,
Like
my
shouldn't have
mind
done comedy.
Well, this could be a 4-hour podcast.
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, oh boy, this.
We're already name dropping. Let's do it.
By the way, the worst names ever. They're like, there's no cool name.
Yeah, we don't want any cool name. That's not anyone can cool drop name. We want bad drop.
We're talking Mike Barnes.
Yeah, Van
Uh,
Hammer.
Well, he was great. I feel bad for Karate Kid 3 because it was really a good 80s type movie, but it's just Ralph Macchio just didn't. He was older, early 30s, I think, or late 20s.
Yeah, he had already done that weird kind of Benjamin Button movie.
Yeah, he did. I think he did the movie with Britney Spears, Crossroads.
Yeah. And he started to get fat, so he was like fat Daniel LaRusso.
Yeah, he wasn't fat softball Artie Lang fat yet, but he was still that movie fucking sucked. Macchio was the worst actor in that movie, the Artie Lang softball movie. Holy shit.
Beer League?
That was such a bad movie. It's one of the worst movies ever made.
I love all the comics telling Artie Lang, "Hey, you look great lately." It's like, come on, man. I know.
I mean, when he's thin, his nose looks like a bull's testicle. It's not. You can't tell me he looks great. You don't look dead, but he looks bloated.
He looks like the bad guy in the new Mad Max film, the guy with the mask and the broken. Take a look.
He looks like Vader when the mask comes off at the end.
Yeah.
That's what he looks like.
But I mean, I'm all for encouraging a guy to get healthier, but don't bullshit him and say you look great.
Yeah, and don't tell him that he's also, he's a quick joke teller. He's a long ass storytelling, almost dead guy. But we want him back. But back, he's too big of a name to drop. What are we doing here? That was too big of a name.
So Earl, what are some of the crazy weirdos coming through the store trying to do comedy?
Well, definitely Jeremy Piven.
Oh yeah, he's done New York stuff too. Yeah.
I don't know much about New York comedy. I've only done a few shows at the Stand. But I think there's a club. Is it Stand Up New York? Is there?
Yeah.
They posted a picture of him going, "He's an amazing comic. Can't wait to see him on our stage when this is over." It's like, come on, man. I mean,
they need people to show up.
Oh, I understand you got to self-market, but amazing comic.
Well, this is the same. That's the same club that just fought with Seinfeld during a pandemic. So it's like they're not that bright. I mean, it's like
what happened there?
Seinfeld said New York's not dead. Everybody shut up, whatever. And then the owner of a club who's obviously losing all his business is like, "Shut up, Jerry, you're an egomaniac. We are dead. We're dying, whatever." So it was like a back and forth thing they had there.
It was James Aldridge. We had him on Kevin's podcast. And honestly, he's a great writer and he had some great points. And Seinfeld's out of touch. He's been living in the Hamptons. So I give point to the owner, the guy who's busting his ass right now.
Oh, I mean, I didn't know that.
I don't work the club, so fuck him. But if I did, I'd be like you, Chad, and I'd be like nice things. But
yeah.
I mean, just to sit there and say, this guy's a great comic. He's horrible. And I rarely say someone's a bad comic because it's a hard thing to do.
Earl, you're on record by saying Jeremy Piven's a bad comedian.
Yes.
Okay.
And an even worse person, but let's keep it to the comedy.
Yeah, but some of them are just not supposed to be comic, because they're just famous. Like when I first started, I opened for two of the guys from Super Troopers, and neither one were guys. It was the Jew one and the fat one, and because I never watched Super Troopers, but the Jew one and the fat one, right? That's their names. And the Bear Jew, or I don't know, whatever movie it was from. That's a different movie. But they were both supposed to do it. One of them was from Connecticut, and it was at the casino, so they thought he would draw people, and he didn't. And they didn't really have an act. They would do a little bit of comedy. They kind of just had someone write for them. And then they would both do a question and answers afterwards for the audience. And one of the shows, no one in the audience ever saw Super Troopers. So there was no question or answers.
Pat, I don't mean to one-up you, Eddie Ift you, but I actually did a college with two people from the cast of Reno 911. True story.
Was either one Michael Ian Black?
No, none of them. They were like the worst 911 guys.
It was, I've opened for those two. There's a lot of TV or YouTube people I've opened for. Just like the nicest one was what was his name? LaJoie is his last name. John. He had the big YouTube video a long time ago, and he was so nice. Like, I'm not supposed to be doing stand up, but I'm drawing a lot of people, so I'm sorry. And he would apologize to us for not being as good as, but it's like it was nice to him. But the other two had no clue. And by the end, I was doing as much time as they were. and I'm opening for $50.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the worst one I've ever seen was if you watch the TV show Below Deck, which it's like a reality show.
Right, I've heard of it, never seen it.
It's like following the employees who work yacht services for like 2 days. Some rich guy will charter a yacht, and then it's about the wackiness on the yacht. Is the girl Rocky from Below Deck came on, and I was just about to go on, and she was with someone pretty important in the club. I won't say who. And it's like, hey, Earl, you're going to get bumped for this girl. I'm like, oh, okay, I watched the show. I was kind of excited. And then she gets up there, and within 10 seconds is twirling her hair going, wow, man, this is cool. I don't even know what to do up here. I go, oh, man, this is going to I'll have to fucking kill that cunt. But, you know, I mean.
Have I ever told you the story how I opened for Todd Bridges from Different Strokes?
Ooh.
Now here we go with the name drop.
That's the best name so far.
So
I'll tell you that time me and Dana Plato went on tour.
Yeah, we went to visit her grave together. No, it was my local club back home in Cuyahoga Falls called the Funny Stops. It's a C-list club. I love doing it though. It's a lot of fun. And the owner's like, "Do you want to feature for Todd Bridges?" I go, "Fucking Willis? Yes, of course. Sign me up." And he's a terrible comedian, but people are, they love seeing the old school, guys from when we grew up. Like, Different Strokes was the biggest show in the world. At one point, they were getting like 50 million viewers. There was like 4 channels. And I'm hanging out with him during the day, and we're going to lunch, and we're just having like sandwiches and talking. And at one point, we're talking about girls. He's like, I lost my virginity to Janet Jackson. And he's like eating a sandwich. I'm like, this is the most surreal moment. If you were going to go back to 1980 to say I have lunch with Willis, and he would say I lost my virginity, I would never have believed you. I would never believe this.
If I knew I was going to have lunch and Todd Bridges was going to lie to me, I would never thought it would have used Janet Jackson. Like, that sounds like such a desperate thing. Hey, you know what else, Chad? Chad liked me, Chad.
I did research. He did. According to, I guess.
Where is that in Wikipedia where he lost his virginity?
But she was on the show.
Research with Tito Jackson.
But she was on the show.
Mindy Cohen? Who did you ask?
But she played Charlene on the show, which was his girlfriend for a bunch of seasons. So I can believe that.
So, did he also fuck the paralyzed girl who used to come on and tell stand-up? Remember that girl on Different Strokes?
Oh, yeah, Jerry Hallwell.
Yeah.
Jerry Jewell.
Did he bang her?
Sorry. I think Jerry Hallwell's in the Spice Girls.
Well, they're both retarded.
Which one would you rather fuck, Jerry Hallwell right now or the other Jerry back then in her young prime?
Jerry Falwell.
Jerry Falwell, yes, me too.
Guy's out of control.
From the 700 Club?
Oh, I'd fuck him right in the ass because that's like the dirtiest thing you could do to a religious man.
Well, it's probably the thing they're most used to.
Yeah. That's the hottest of the Jerrys. So, but Todd Bridges, did he pay for lunch?
Yeah, he did. So props to Todd.
I opened for Jimmy Walker. He's an asshole.
But he's pretty good, though, isn't he? Has a stand-up?
I mean, obviously he was way better when he started. Of course he's good, but he was just so arrogant and just so worried about what everyone – I think it was more of a defense thing, but he really is the kind of guy that gets upset. This is 10 years ago, but I've still heard from people now. You can't say dynamite. You can't yell out anything. He gets upset if you bring up his past because he doesn't want to be reminded of the thing back then. And I kind of get that, but also remember where you came from and why they're there. And we're in a shitty club that held 120 people. It's not like you're doing an arena. And we weren't allowed to talk with him. If someone had a sign that said dynamite, he made security rip it out of their hands. Only he could say dynamite. And then me and another guy opened for him all weekend. And at the end of the weekend, the other guy walked up and said, "Hey, it was great watching you work." And he goes, "Nice to meet you, son." He goes, "Meet you. I open for you every show." And he's like, "Whatever, I don't watch." And then walked away.
It's a great business we're in.
Here, I got to one-up you again, Pat. I opened up for Michael Winslow from Police Academy.
Yeah, the noise guy.
Well, they did I think it was a Showtime special, a recent one, where it was Jimmy Walker and Michael Winslow. And I felt like.
And a cop, and he had to choose which one's which. Like, I don't know.
It's kind of like I felt sad watching it going. You could tell they're just sucking on the fumes of, I hope someone remembers me for doing that gas noise at Police Academy 6. But,
Was it hosted by the dad from Family Matters and Die Hard?
The dad from Die Hard. Who was the dad from Die Hard?
Well, the cop who was the dad on Family. What was his name?
Carl Winslow.
Reginald Van Johnson.
Yes. He was an amazing.
You know, there's a famous Comedy Store paid regular in Die Hard, the guy who was in the street worker, who's when Robert Davi says, "Hey, shut down grid 212," and the guy's. I know a lot of useless information.
No, I love it. That's my favorite stuff.
I hate to one up you, Chad, but I opened up for Joe Piscopo, and that brings it all around because we brought up Michael Winslow. One of the people he worked with on Police Academy is that little nerdy guy Tim, whatever his name was.
It's a very Polish name, like Kaczynski.
Tim Kazarensky.
There you go. Yeah. I was opening for Piscopo, and we had to drive and do radio, so I was bringing him to radio in between. And he did the thing all people do is like, tell me if you think this is racist, which you know is going to be racist. And he was talking about when they were doing that famous scene where it was him and Eddie Murphy, and they were both at their kind of height on Saturday Night Live then, and it was the Ebony and Ivory scene, and they were working on it all week long. And there was 2 sets of Saturday Night Live. I didn't know this, but I'm sure you guys do. And on one, when they're practicing, the other side was Tim doing that Tarzan scene where he's pretending he's Tarzan, and there's like a monkey, and the monkey was just making noise the entire time, and it kept being so loud it was distracting them. So Piscopo turns to Eddie and all his entourage in Sinatra voice, goes, "Hey, Eddie, keep your people quiet." And then wonders why they all storm off stage. He goes, "You think that's really racist?" I'm like, "You fucking know that's
I would have
racist."
told him no.
I did say, I said, no, I understand, because I was driving him and he was buying lunch. So I was like, I get it.
I've been like, no, dude, I think you could have gone edgier.
Yeah. Is that the moment you got Johnny Dangerously? Or is that when they inked it? That's kind of sucked, though, to like at that moment think you're going to be the biggest star in the world and be that close. And then the other guy becomes at that time the biggest star in the world.
What killed Piscopo was his bodybuilding, right?
Well, he got into bodybuilding after he was really famous.
Right. I think he's realized he couldn't act. He was funny. He was more of an impression guy. Like when I was working with him, even like 10 years ago, he was doing Sinatra so much that basically he just stopped doing comedy and just does Sinatra now. And he was with a girl that was the babysitter. This is right when he left the wife, and the wife was like the manager, and he started fucking the babysitter who was younger than me. And it was like a good 35, 40-year difference. I'm like, your mother had to tell you who you're fucking. How do you even know who you're fucking? There's no way she knew who Piscopo was.
Well, but I mean, Eddie Murphy owes his career to Charlie Barnett not showing up to the last final callback for SNL, because he was the guy, but he couldn't read, so he got scared that they would make fun of him for not reading the cue cards. So he didn't even show up, and then Eddie Murphy got it. So
did he not know there were cue cards?
I mean, he was pretty out there on drugs at the time.
Okay. I heard that. He has to know they're gonna make him read. So like at one point, you gotta cut your Dexter Manley thing out and fucking start reading.
Oh, I love me some Dexter Manley. I cry every time they show that clip of him in Congress, and he's like sweating because it's so fucking hot in there, and
words are coming. He doesn't know what to do.
Oh shit, he can't talk.
Hey Pat, I don't mean to one up you, but I opened for guy number 3 in episode 6 of Airwolf.
Ooh. I opened up for the 4th funniest guy on Workaholics. What was it? Eric Griffin?
Oh.
No, he was the 4th funniest guy on that show, but as a comic, he's the funniest guy on the show. But I remember I said that to him when I was opening for him, and I thought he would laugh, and he did not.
If we're going process of Me Too, he's
Me Too. Hey, if a couple more comics get Me Too, I might be going on before midnight at the store.
Yeah. Hey, who's in the rapiest area? Like I'm East Coast, you're Florida, and right now, the comic wise, you're winning, Earl.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm in ground zero. I think
they gotta stop this pandemic and get those guys back in the store. They're gonna hurt every woman.
Well, I mean it's it's when you date younger women, and you burn them, they're gonna come back and get you. So
I've been divorced for over 10 years. I've dated nothing but younger women, and I've not done any of that shit. I've dated them.
I think part of their problem, not speaking of the big 3 who recently have been in the news, but
the big 3.
The big 3. The Mount Rushmore of creeps. I like it.
There could be several mountaintops if you were giving them space on mountains of creeps. But, I think when older guys date younger girls, and you bail on them or you not treat them well, like they're going to screenshot everything you've said or sent them, dick pics or whatever. So, it's best to leave on good terms.
I do give Dalia credit at least. I can barely remember my nieces and nephews' birthdays. The fact that he sat there and was just like, she's going to be 18 soon. Let me send her a card. I mean, that's pretty cool of him,
I mean, at least he waited till she was 18. I'll give him that. I mean,
yeah, I mean, he
that's
played.
worse. To be honest with you, I know it's not worse legally, but it's worse that he was waiting. Like, there's other people.
Listen,
why are you that fired up for 17-year-old puss?
She might have been super hot. You don't know the story. You might I'm going to wait on this one.
Okay, listen. She's obviously probably an attractive girl, and even if she was what you want to call super hot, my daughter's 18. I don't see any 18-year-old is super hot right now. Okay, that is so fucking young.
So I don't have a child, so I mean, you have a kid, so you have a way different perspective.
Okay, when you watch Karate Kid in season 2, when the blonde chick came in, it used to be on the Disney Channel, and she came, the taller one that was fighting the smaller one, do you look at her and go, oh, she's the hottest girl in this? No, it's a girl, and that's the same age. That girl's 18.
Well, I looked at
that's
the
what
kid
18 looks like. That girl.
No, I know. Yeah, I mean, well, I think it's with famous comics or musicians, it's you want what you can't have. So it's like that's literally the only thing that a famous comic can't have is a girl under 18. Like they can have everything else, and so I think it's really just they're like a kid themselves, because you tell a kid don't touch that, they want to touch them.
It's like their pussy's the moon. They don't really care if they get to they just want to put their flag in the moon and go, here it is, I did it. Because it's like, it's not going to be good. It's an 18-year-old starstruck girl who's probably never fucked or has just other young children. If she has fucked, it's not going to be good. It's all about your mindset of, I need to dominate this thing that's way younger than me. And I won't fuck things up. Believe me, I will never fuck anything older than me. That's gross. I don't even fuck things my age. But I'm not going half. My daughter told me a rule. She said, Dad, the age gap has to be closer to your age than mine. I'm like, that's a fair deal.
Yeah, but I don't think I agree with everything, but I still think that single comics are pretty piggish in their behavior. Not all, but a lot, and I don't think they think long term. Okay, if I ghost this girl and just start fucking one of her friends or someone else, they're not going to take that well, and that's where I think the problem.
I don't think that's I think that's more the minority, just allowed. I think there's creeps in every job, and I think some of them are we're noticing who they are. I think most comics are the ones that want just someone around because they hate that the comedy itself is lonely, and I don't think most of them are really looking for that. I mean, yeah, when I was trying a little bit, you want to fuck sometimes once in a while, but for the most part, you're not just searching for shit. I think that's a certain mindset that I think that kind of comes with a West Coast feel. I think you're creepy. That's all. Not you, your people.
Your people.
Hey, they ain't my people.
Your people.
I mean, I can't speak for New York or Chicago or any other. I always compare LA to New York, so I don't know what the New York dating life is amongst comics.
I think New York is nothing more than just all the comics like to tell each other that they're gay. That seems to be the comedy set, how they make fun of each other, and then they end up, a lot of them, I think, wanting to be gay with each other. It becomes this thing. It's like, whatever, you're gay, and then next thing you know, they're all gay. That's the New York mindset.
I mean, the LA mindset is it's very a lot of alpha males, even amongst the unknown comics. So it's like, whoa, if this girl fucked Earl, she'll fuck me, and she fucked Pat, she'll fuck Chad, and it's like an arms race. So it's like, it's funny to me to watch from a distance now.
So what other comics are leaving LA? We got Rogan, we got Diaz, we got Theo Vaughn, Steve Byrne. Who else are you hearing, Earl?
I'm guessing Kalen's leaving.
Well, yeah, he might be leaving for a rubber room. We got every comic from Roast Battle seasons 2 and 3. Oh wait, you said comics. Never mind. I mean, there's a lot of unknown comics leaving. Just because they can't afford it out here. No harm in that. It's expensive out here. It's the shitty thing is once they leave, and like when this opens up in some capacity, they're probably not going to be able to move back because they have nothing here. So
it's good for you guys who are still grounded there because you're able to get some ground. You've been in that store for how long? When did Mitzi Shore pass you?
Mitzi didn't. I was the first person Adam passed. So I got in there 2014, I think. And But I can still do voiceovers and stuff from home because I have a pretty nice setup. So I'm lucky. But if you're a road comic and you're based in LA, you have to move out of LA because you've had no gigs for 6 months. And most comics, as I'm sure you guys know, aren't good with their money. So there might be 1 or 2 road comics based here who save their money or whatever. But a lot of going to Vegas, Nashville, because there's no state income tax.
Isn't Pauly Shore living in Vegas?
Yeah, he's in Vegas. So, and then it's very hard to get to play Canada and come back. So that's not an option. So
Thank God we know the whereabouts of Pauly Shore, though, because I was wondering.
He's killing it, though. Like, people like make fun of Carrot Top and people from that era, the late 80s, but most of them go to Vegas and get residencies and they make a lot of money.
When you said somebody, you don't want to name names, brought the girl from above deck or whatever it's called, below deck in, I just thought it was him.
It was not him.
Okay, that's the first. I thought him or David Spade were the only names I thought.
But it's funny. The same night, they must have all been together. Sal from Impractical Jokers came, and I don't know his history in comedy. I don't know if he was a full-time comic before the show. Do you guys know that?
I never heard of him before the show, but I know he's out of all of them, he's the one that does the most stand up now, but I didn't know.
I heard that show got really popular and he dabbled in it and then he really got focused. Like he didn't take the easy way out. He really went to the trenches and did the open mics from what I hear. I could be wrong.
I know a couple of comics that write for them and then open for them. Like Mike Fenoya and Chris Johnson, guys like that. And they all say that he does work his ass off to do it, but I don't know if he was really doing it a lot beforehand.
Because he went up that night too, and he struggled, but he seemed to be pretty honest. Like, hey, I haven't done this in a while. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm in Practical Jokers. The crowd was like, ah. So, but he was nice. He was very nice, humble. It wasn't.
Did he have to follow the girl?
Yeah, so he looked like Dice at the Garden in '88. So, I mean, she was horrible. I don't know. I'll assume that was her first and last time ever on a stand-up stage. But
is she attractive? Is that her thing? I don't know. I've never seen the show. It's like
she's like in the show, and she was only on 1 season. And this shows you why I haven't made it in stand-up, because I can tell you about her career on Below Deck. She was like the one they portrayed as the wild one. She'd fuck the lead deckhand, and then she'd try and get it on with the captain. And so
captain.
This
if
was
you're gonna fuck people on a boat. You gotta fuck the captain. That's like the whole.
Absolutely.
Or the rear admiral.
I'm sure someone put it in her head. Hey, your time on the show is coming to an end. You better have something to make money off of your name. You should do stand up. And
I thought you said so. Like someone's gonna be like, so you better fuck the captain. I thought that was where you were going. Listen, the season's ending, and we need you to blow somebody. It's like, all right.
So but I mean, she was nice, but she was pretty bad.
I think the question all the listeners want to hear, and I'm going to ask Pat, I'm going to ask Earl, do you think it was a good move to repackage Tony Atlas as Saba Simba?
Who wants to handle that first? Yes, of course. You've got to make him look as much like Kunta Kinte from Roots as you possibly can. You've got to make the money. Back then, that's how people like their Africans. Very scary and from Africa. No, of course it wasn't. Vince McMahon is an awful man. I love everything he's ever done, but you can't take a guy and say, now you're this. It's like, he's Tony fucking Atlas. Why you don't have to make him that? It was terrible, but that's why I love wrestling. I was hoping they would do one when COVID happened, have an Asian guy called Coughing. That's what I was hoping he would come out and he would just cough on people and you have to stay 6 feet away. They didn't do it.
Earl, your thoughts?
I mean, as weird as that was, it's not even in the top 10 of racist characters.
Harlem Heat started off in chains.
Yeah, I mean, Junkyard Dog went to the ring. Chain and would get on his all fours and go, Argh! I mean, like. But by far the most racist sketch or promo is when they introduced Akeem the African Dream.
He's my favorite African wrestler.
But I mean, if you look back and go, okay, let's just watch this with a clear, 2020 bubble look. And here is Mean Gene Okerlund in an alley in New York Slick with a boombox, and 5 black background dancers in grass skirts with Nikes on. And then, it's this gigantic white guy goes, "My brothers and sisters." I mean, come on.
The
man.
one-man gang.
He was the one-man gang, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like Kamala, that he was pretty athletic for. One-man gang had to be 6'6", close to 400 pounds.
He was huge, but he could move. Yeah, he really could. And he could sell too. He really could wrestle. It's like, but that was when they made that move. But Slick's song "Jive Soul Bro" is one of my favorite wrestling songs of all time.
Oh, Slick is probably my favorite vignette ever is when he tries to teach Kamala how to bowl.
Yes. Oh God, yeah, I forgot all about that.
But it's it's racist on about 8 different levels. But they just have Kamala, and they painted the bowl. I want this bowling ball. They painted it like Kamala, like they had the 2 moons and then the big, or the 1 moon and the 2 things, stars. And they just have Kamala touching this ball like it's the Holy Grail, and he's just like grunting, like, and then Slick is understanding him, and like it's just like, Jesus, dude, how bad can you portray black people?
You guys Kamala made it worse too, because Kamala at one point was the Ugandan headhunter, and then when he became the Ugandan giant, he was afraid of wood, or the casket was scary because it was wood. But like before, he was this killer, and then he's afraid of bowling ball. They tried to add personality to it because it was so racist. They're like, let's make him fun at least.
Yeah, he was so scary when he was like a legit heel that I think someone was like, "Hey man, kids were literally crying when he would walk by." So.
I saw him in New Haven, Connecticut, and he walked by, and I was terrified. I think I was 8 or 9 years old, and it was the scariest thing I'd ever seen.
Pat, you're actually in the heart of WWF.
Connecticut, yeah, I grew up in Connecticut. I'm about 40 minutes from Stanford, from the offices and everything like that. But yeah, I'm right there. I did get to meet Stephanie McMahon once. She slept in my dorm room because she was high school buddies with my buddy, and she crashed. She wasn't in wrestling yet. She was just going to BU, and she visited, and we just knew she was Vince McMahon's daughter. So we would just get drunk and every night be like, "So do you know Macho Man?" And she's like, "Yes, I know Macho Man." Do you know Kamala? And like we would just like she would just stop, and we would just do it not until she had to leave. She left the day.
You guys were like the Chris Farley show. Like, do you know the Legion of Doom? That's awesome.
Do you know X? Yeah, Smack. Yeah, I know them both. I know them both, Pat.
I think she did know Macho Man.
Yeah, that's what I was leading to, because that was just when those rumors happened. But I didn't want to be like, "Did you fuck the Macho Man?"
Did she fuck the Macho Man?
Well, that's the rumor.
Those are the rumors.
He's not in the Hall of Fame. They never. Chris Benoit gets more love than Macho Man.
I never knew.
He's a better wrestler.
Look at that gossip.
Yeah.
Chris Benoit, family man.
Chris Benoit is one of the greatest. But I don't care what he did to his family. That's commitment. Listen. Sometimes you can't get your wife and kids to be quiet, and you got to do something. They called him the Crippler. They would say, "What? I watch it all the time. He was a murderer. He can't be stopped." They knew.
Well, at least we know his finishing move worked.
Yeah, so good.
Jesus.
Where was my question about that whole weekend was, where was the kids' tag team partner?
Jesus Christ.
It was one of those. They didn't name him, and they were waiting for him to come out. And he was hopefully inside the mother's stomach. And by the way, the one he killed was with Kevin Sullivan, which you thought would be a worse move. But in retrospect, woman should have stayed with Kevin Sullivan, and she wouldn't be dead.
I mean, I watched the pay-per-view. I thought the Great Muta was going to come in from the closet, but blow the green stuff out. But
well, you can say the same thing about Elizabeth, that she would have stayed with Macho Man instead of going with Lex Luger.
She probably would have been in the car when he got crashed, to be honest with you. So, like,
either way, she was going to die.
But, well, I mean, pro wrestling. I often say pro wrestling is like stand up with 10 times the drugs and steroids and I mean the lifestyle, the traveling, the
sometimes you just lose your smile. You know.
I mean, look at Andre the Giant. Like, he had to shit in a bucket when he would go on overseas flights, and he was like one of the A stars. Like, imagine where Kamala had to go on an overseas flight.
That's also proven that, Andre didn't plan well. He knows he's a giant. It's in his name. He had the money to get a better bucket. Like,
with all due respect, Ralphie May had a shit in a bucket too.
Yeah.
I did a show once at the casino where Ralphie May was doing. It was at in Connecticut at Foxwoods, and the club was at one part, and across the hall was the small theater. And so Bob Marley was in the club, and Ralphie May was in the theater, and I guess they were buddies. So Ralphie at one point was going to come in and said he was going to surprise everyone and come on stage with Bob. But I'm like, how are we going to surprise with this fucking 500-pound man? So they wanted us to sneak him in. So we had to literally get, because I was the house commentator, so I had to go get the coverings for the pianos and drape that over him. And he kind of bent over, and we pushed him like he was a piano. So people didn't notice it was just a giant fat man sneaking in so we can get on stage.
I mean, Ralphie was, I think he was 594 at the time of death. Like, that's just too much pressure on you. 20 pounds overweight is a lot, But
if you're 594, like, go for 6.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You did it. No one's going to know.
I think he was trying, and it didn't work out.
Well, I knew him when
it didn't work out? Wait, what happened?
How'd you know him, Earl?
I knew him when he was heavier. Like, when I first met him, he would go and watch his ex-wife at open mics that I was doing, and he was easily 600 pounds. And if you said 7, I wouldn't argue with you. So, like,
he brought her. She was opening for him, I think, one time when he was there, and that wasn't fun to watch.
Jeez, I hope she was on top.
Oh my God!
I love Ralph.
But it could be like a fetish, like if you like maybe she wanted to be like a Chilean coal miner, like she wanted to know what it was like to just be trapped, and she put like a little hat on with a light and try to dig her way out.
We all have our fetishes.
Yeah, I hate to name drop.
Yeah.
Chilean coal miners are my favorite of the coal miners.
That's a deep cut there, boy.
That's all this has been. 4 people have gotten everything we've said. This has been the deep. I did a line about Shawn Michaels that only Earl laughed at, and no one else got.
What was the line?
He lost his smile. It was
when you say no one else got, I'm the only one here.
Who watches it later? No one's gonna understand.
Dude, I think this episode is gonna have more hosts than listeners.
Yes, that's what most of these shows are. No one's listening, but other people that want to tell us that we suck.
Let me go back to some racist wrestlers. Did you know Booker T's first entrance, who he was?
I guess
first character.
Later, but
I guess the defendant.
It was G.I. Bro.
That was his first one.
G.I. Bro.
That was his. You know what? They did have it early, but they brought it back because he did that when the No Limit Soldiers all came back, and so they actually brought it back later, and he did it again for a while, and that's when he was like, "I'm ready to leave." But yeah, G.I. Bro was bad.
G.I. Bro, basically, he looked like he should have been in the movie Predator, just to give you an idea of his getup.
Oh, I remember. I was watching WCW a lot at that time. It was bad because he was a quite talented guy. He was way better than his brother, but they weren't even from Harlem. They were from Houston, but they were just like, they literally WCW. They're like, where are black people from? They're like, Harlem, I think. They go, okay, then just call them Harlem Heat. They were from Houston.
Yeah, they really buried Booker T. Like, but then he went to WWF thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna make it because this is, it's like the cellar of pro wrestling or the Comedy Store, and his first promo was with The Rock, and The Rock buried him with one line. I've never seen this happen before, where he just looked at him after Booker T did his promo and all this. Oh, this guy's pretty good. And The Rock just looked at him and said, "Who are you?" And he was done. Like,
who in the blue hell are you?
Yeah.
He did it to Jericho too, but Jericho recovered. But yeah, they did all they could to take the WCW people that came over. Like Triple H just sat there and buried them. I've been watching all the fights when Steiner came in. And Scott Steiner, by the way, if you ever want to laugh, just put in Scott Steiner math into your YouTube and enjoy the greatest promo of all times, where he just does math. But it's incredible. 33% of me is like 25% of you, and it's nuts. But they just took these WCW guys that thought they were going to do something, and Triple H just buried them to kind of like prove a point. And they did the same thing with The Rock. Vince always had it out for them. Even though he hired these people to work for him, he made sure he buried them.
One tag team that I thought was going to do well when they went to the WWE/F or whatever you want was the Steiner brothers, because they were so good in WCW, and they go and they just bomb in WWF. Bomb.
Well, they did okay when they came over when they had the mullets and stuff, but it was a different time. But once they came back later, once Steiner came back, it was all jacked up, Big Papa Pump. It was just a weird, creepy thing to ask all the women to holler if you hear them. That's one of the most Me Too-ish people of all time, just yelling about his penis in his arms nonstop is tough. They were a good tag team, but like once Steiner got big, he couldn't really do all the Frankensteiners and the good shit. And I don't know, if your name is a dog-faced gremlin, kids aren't gonna like warm up to you. It was weird stuff.
Well, they were actually legit wrestlers.
College, yeah.
So I think they weren't necessarily performers. So, and that's where WWE was going at that time, was like the vignettes and the wacky promos with Mark Henry pulling a hand out of Mae Young's pussy. And I don't think they just hit the WWE. They would have been great in the 80s, when it was geared towards a little more like, okay, who's actually can wrestle?
Watching that thing happen with the Mark Henry, where they feel like they didn't know what was going on, and at the very end, a hand comes out of the pussy. That's kind of like when you watch a comic, you're like, it has a good premise, and then like you're like, man, I bet you this is gonna be a great punchline. And you notice halfway through, oh, they have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to go. They know what they're doing. They just yell the N-word and leave. That's basically what it was.
I mean, I like the punchline of that joke. Like, I mean, come on, admit it. If you're watching that, you think, oh, maybe they're gonna have a white baby come out, so it's not his, or maybe it's a really black baby, but an actual, it's just a hand. Like that's good.
I actually thought it was gonna be D'Lo Brown. I don't know why. I thought they were gonna make D'Lo Brown come out as a baby.
I mean, that would have been an option, But
Chad, what are you doing on your phone that's fun?
I wanted to. Well, I'm sure Earl saw this photo, but I don't know if Pat's ever seen it. But can you see it?
Yes,
yeah,
Mark Henry.
Mark Henry.
Yeah, we were in Austin, Texas on a tour together, and Mark Henry was eating at our place. We hung out with him. He was cool as fuck. And
Yeah,
I was telling Brody, I go, that's the strongest man in the world. He's like, is he famous? I'm like, yeah, he's in the wrestling. He's like, we got to get a photo. Let's do it.
Well, I don't think Brody knew much about wrestling. I mean, other than he got on the roast of the Iron Sheik at the Comedy Store as the Iron Sheik's cousin.
Oh, didn't you roast the Iron Sheik?
I did. I was Ultimate Warrior because the Iron Sheik is so crazy.
Is he really crazy, or is that like a shtick he did it? Stern gave him, and he just moved with it?
Well, no, he's a great guy, but he's older, and
right.
You can tell he's.
I mean, you talk about legit wrestler. That guy was a fucking legit, real wrestler in the Olympics. So
he put Hulk Hogan over to be Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I mean,
he had no choice. They took it off Backlund, gave it to him so they could make Hogan. He was just a paper champ. He was just there holding it.
But his managers were like, hey, we know you like wrestling. We know you like the Warrior. We want you to dress as the Warrior and go backstage. And he'll think it's actually him. I'm like, come on, man. He's not that crazy. Sure enough, he's holding court. He's talking to Brody. And I forget what celebrities were in the green room, but there was a fair amount just because, they like wrestling too. I come in there in full regalia, and I was pretty big at the time. I mean, I definitely didn't look like the real Warrior, but close enough. And he charged me because he thought he's like, you fucking homo. And he said some stuff that I probably can't repeat, but like, and then
he said faggot 20 times. You know he did. You fuck faggot, fuck you.
I fuck you in the ass.
I asked you in the fuck.
You some bitch. We wrestled in the Sportatorium in '88, you faggot. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, when is this guy going to figure out it's not the Warrior? And then Buff Bagwell was on that, and it was kind of he was asking me for cocaine 30 seconds after I met him. I'm like, dude, I don't.
Worst angle ever, worst gimmick match ever. Buff Bagwell's mom on a pole.
Oh, absolutely. That's another dude who I think Booker T and him were the first WCW match in WWE. Yep. And it was pretty bad.
They cut him out of that quick. He was part of the thing afterwards where they were jumping all the guy, and then he was just out after like 3 weeks.
Honestly, I think the worst angle ever is Buff Bagwell asking Earl for cocaine.
Well, I think
you don't want to watch happen next week if Earl gives him coke or not. I want that angle.
Well, I think he really thought I was the Warrior. I guess because the Warrior and Bagwell, the rumors are that they started in. Atlanta has male escorts. So, when I walked out on stage in full Warrior makeup and I looked down at Buff Bagwell, I'm like, hey, man, you look familiar. Bend over. He laughed. He was cool.
That'd be so weird. Like if Ultimate Warrior got big and then there's a lady there and, she used to pay for sex and now she has a kid and it's with her husband and she looks and she's like, they're like, that's our favorite guy. She's like, yeah, I paid to fuck that guy once. It's like, that's good.
I mean, it was surreal.
His name's Jim.
Now it was, he literally, that's why I respect the guy, because I guess last week Vince McMahon told all WWF, I still want to call it WWF, all the talent, get rid of your TikToks, get rid of your Twitch accounts. You're making too much money in it that I'm not getting a cut of.
Right.
Warrior.
And Paige said something about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, it does kind of suck, but I could kind of see his point of like, no one would know who you
Get
guys
rid of
are.
your TikToks.
So, but that's why literally I'll change my name to Warrior. So eat it.
Right. Yeah, his wife is dead. His widow is now Dana Warrior.
Dana Warrior.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
That girl's tough looking.
Yeah.
She looks like an
break her out.
opponent.
She's like, yeah, cancer. Like, I know, but come on, shut the fuck up.
She looks like one of those Saturday night stiffs that come to the ring with fucking what was the one guy, the guy who banged the Brooklyn Brawler.
Oh yeah. Well, he was the guy who did Kamala's. He was Kimchi the most. The guy who came to the ring with Kamala in the safari outfit.
Right.
That was the Brooklyn Brawler.
Whatever bullshit they needed done, Brooklyn Brawler did. Like when they needed like a second doink at times, he'd have to be it. Whatever the fuck they needed.
Doink the clown. Doink the clown.
There's a great doink, which is Matt Bourne. Then there was the shitty doink after. But the good doink was the evil clown that could have been a great character, but was too scary for kids. And then they had to switch it over to a fun doink.
Well, Kamala has a great song on YouTube. It's actually kind of catchy. It's called Push It. And apparently him and the Brooklyn Brawler would travel together. And allegedly Push It is about Pat Patterson putting it in the Brooklyn Brawler's booty hole.
Jesus Christ.
No, I'm serious. Like Kamala at one point was as bitter as I am. So he was just like, fuck wrestling. I'm going to talk about everything I saw. I'm going to out pedophile.
He watched them fuck.
Well, he heard them, I think. But he probably watched them. Who knows? I mean,
You think the wrestlers gossip like us comics? Like, did you hear fucking so-and-so hit on a girl or whatever?
I think back then they did. I don't know if they do it now.
Well, we're talking about Iron Sheik. One of the best stories ever is when they got in trouble because back then when bad guys couldn't be seen with good guys, and Iron Sheik and Hacksaw Jim Duggan were in a car together, got pulled over.
That was the iconic one. Wasn't it in Jersey that happened?
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays with TMZ and I mean, what's the big thing in New York? Page 6. Like they have like roving reporters everywhere, so that it's pretty hard to keep secrets.
Okay, so let's go around the horn right now. Top 5 wrestlers, top 5 comics. Pat, you go first.
5 in any particular order? Or are we going just wrestler, comic?
I just threw it on you, so just say who your 5 that come to mind.
Okay, well, Shawn Michaels and Louis C.K. Am I making
Louis
tag
C.K.
teams
wrestle?
We're doing one wrestler. What? We're doing one wrestler, one comic. Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, that'd be a great match. Shawn Michaels versus
Louis. He goes to do the super kick and Louis just jerks off at him. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
I know both their finishing moves.
Hello.
He has to ask Louis, but Louis has to ask permission if he can use his finishing move. He's like, listen, I asked. It's okay. They both slap their leg when they know their move's coming too. It's nice. They'll let you go. Let's go or do one at a time. So I'll go. Earl, go.
Oh, okay. I thought you would.
There's no way I'm doing 10 of those right now.
Well, I mean, my list is going to be a little weird in both categories because I'm just going to go with my personal favorites.
Right.
But I know some of my favorites are not the top 5 of all. Like Kamala is going to be one of my favorite.
No, that's
it's our top 5, not the top 5.
Yeah,
but
I just love Shawn Michaels.
I'm even admitting that Kamala, in the grand scheme of the hundreds of pro wrestlers, is not a top 5, but he's my top 5. So I'll say Kamala, and comedy, another Foster Brooks.
Look at you, deep dive.
Chad.
My favorite wrestler of all time, and he used to do a podcast with Earl, which I'm jealous to this day. Roddy Piper, my favorite. The reason why I'm in comedy, Pat, the reason why I'm in comedy was never a comic. It was Roddy Piper. I just wanted to talk shit on a microphone. Piper's Pit was my favorite thing ever, and that's all I wanted to do was be Roddy Piper. I go, I guess I'll do comedy, and that's why I got into it.
Take Piper is what you said, but turn that into Jerry the King Lawler, and that's me.
See?
When Jerry the King Lawler, when he had to be the big heel, like in 93 and early 94, they didn't have great heels. And as an announcer, he had to do it. He would, the thing with Gold Dust, when they were trying to build other people, like when Kane was the dentist and all that shit, they would use it. When he was destroying Bret Hart's family, shitting on his mother and father, it was tremendous. There was one pay-per-view in Milwaukee where Jerry King Lawler, instead of playing music, walked down there with a mic and did fucking crowd work and went back and forth and turned to some guy and goes, he said, you must know what it's like to be like Gold Dust, right? Gay. And he just kept walking. It was just like the crazy. I was like, I want to do that. I want to walk around with a mic and just shit on people for money. So that's the same thing. So I'll go Lawler too. I'll go Lawler and Mitch Hedberg.
Well, I have to give my comic. I just gave you Piper.
Yeah.
My comic, I'm going to go with, I know it's a fan favorite. I'm going to go with Earl Skakel. You're in my top 5, buddy.
You're laying it on a little thick.
We're doing that shit? We're doing that?
Earl makes me laugh hard. I mean, I'm going with the guys who make me laugh.
You both made me laugh. You're not my top fucking 5.
I'm putting Earl in my top 5. I'm pandering.
Well, it's a lot of pressure on me now to name you in my top 5.
No. You don't have to.
He has to. He fucking has to. Chad, that was fucking bullshit. He has to. I thought yours was going to be Patton Oswalt, to be honest with you.
I thought it was going to be Eddie F., to be honest with you.
My third favorite wrestler is Patton Oswalt's wife because she really put up a struggle.
I'm not joking. Right before we did this, I'm watching the Golden State documentary on HBO. Do you know there's like a series on his wife and the Golden State Killer? Did you guys know this?
No.
No.
You're the only one who knows a lot about Patton Oswalt's wife.
Well, I figured if I'm going to go to war with the guy, I want to do a little research. So I was watching it right before this.
I'm going to be a dick about a loss in his life. I might as well have my facts straight.
You know, and for all the nerd people that are listening, all the nerd comics, I honestly picked that thing up with Patton Oswalt because Tripoli was bitching about him. Sam Tripoli, my friend, former friend for now, was bitching about Patton Oswalt. So I had his back like I was Flavor Flav and he was Chuck D. And that's why Patton Oswalt, he came after me. He came after me because he's afraid of Tripoli. And that's how it all happened. Rack me.
You didn't let it go.
No, I kept going.
I mean, it'd be one thing if you're like, he went after you and you're like, I'm sorry. Like, no, you took that bull by the horns.
Well, I was trending in America, so I felt like this weird thing that I had to keep it going since I was trending in the USA.
Tension's awesome.
But no, David Tell. How about that? Go ahead, Earl.
Roddy Piper and David Tell. That's a good tag team.
It's nice. I am a fan of Jerry Lawler because he's actually the one who came up with the Kamala gimmick.
That was his idea?
When Kamala was just Sugar Bear Harris, and he was horrible because he just had no moves, he had no personality, and Lawler was like, that's going to be your gimmick. You're just a savage from Uganda who can only chop someone over the head. Let me see. Ultimate Warrior. I will go with the Warrior as my wrestler. Just, the guy had a brief run as the top dog, but it's still people talk about him. And then as a comic, I'll go with Dice.
Oh!
I mean,
the Dice Man!
I think people forget how big Dice was really without the help of the internet. Like, it wasn't like when Dane came on a couple of years later and he used MySpace and Napster and all
grassroots shit. Yeah, I mean,
Dice really was.
And he was the first guy to get canceled.
Yeah, I think his first problem started with the bald singer Sinead O'Connor, and then
on Saturday Night Live.
Got banned from NBC. I don't know if he got banned from SNL or NBC, but not something you want to get banned from. But I think people forget how big he was. So, Warrior and Dice.
Nice. That's a good.
That's team. A good tag team.
It's very flashy, like super flashy team.
Great intros for both those guys coming down the aisle.
There would be no team intro. There's individual intros there.
Yeah, that's a good one. What's another one, Pat?
Oh, you know what? I'm going to go heels right here. We're going heel. We're going Chris Benoit and Bill Cosby. That's my team. That is who's going to fuck with me? The promos are going to be great.
Technically, great comic, great wrestler, technically.
Maybe two of the best technical and people that when you're talking about top 5s, people want to say them, but they're afraid to. But you want to say them because you're like, yeah, I know they did that shit, but you want to say it every time.
So Cosby's sleeper his closer, the sleeper rape, and Benoit's death.
The Crippler cross face and the Crippler cross rape. They work out good.
Chad,
I would make the Crippler wear the sweater. He'd have to wear the sweater, like matching sweaters. He'd look good in that sweater.
I'm going with favorite wrestler, Terry the Tailor, the Red Rooster.
Oh my God! Now you're just
Right, shut the fuck up. You don't even know. You're just Googling things.
No, pro wrestler. Honestly, let's go with Arn Anderson, the Enforcer. That's my favorite, one of my favorite top fives, and we'll go with comics. I'm thinking right now. I like joke writers. I'm gonna go with someone current. Let's give him some love, Mr. Mike Vecchione, who has one of the greatest comedy albums I've ever heard.
Into two hardworking, no nonsense people. There you go. See, your tag team's good. That's kind of like an Enforcer tag team there.
Plus, Vecchione actually wrestles. He was a wrestler, a college wrestler.
We're not. This isn't real.
Yeah.
Don't ruin my
people are
fantasy.
dead. Brooks Foster's not going to fight anybody.
Definitely not.
Oh. You're like, there's legitimacy into my fake, stupid thing we're doing.
And by the way, we're going to have some wrestling fans listening to this because I hosted Sid Vicious's podcast, and I got a huge wrestling fan base, so this is going to be fun.
But I think all of us do some kind of wrestling podcast. I mean, why would we? That's what we do. When you're three morons who can talk about anything and don't shut the fuck up, people just put you on stuff. There's a wrestling podcast that I do after every major wrestling that they have me come on and just talk shit.
Well, perfect.
Let me see. All right, I'll go Rick Rude as my wrestler. I just loved his
Mustache,
his tights,
his body, his tights. I mean,
cut the music. That was hilarious, though.
All you fat Jersey split hogs. But he was so good at being a bad guy, the crowd loved him. I mean, he would literally call a guy a fat pig in the front row, and the guy would like applaud him. And then comic wise, I'll go with let me see, Stephen Wright.
That's a weird combo.
I think Stephen Wright would be the manager.
But they kind of spoke in the same dialect. Like,
yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to match them. But,
no, I know we're not trying to do that. I'm thinking of them as tag teams, and I'm like, that's I don't know how that is. That's kind of like when Edge and Mysterio are together. I'm like, I get it, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
I get you're trying to have each one put the other one over, but like, what the fuck is going on here?
That's a good one.
Stephen Wright just standing there, standing quiet, and doing a one-liner about Rick Rude's pants. It would just be weird.
So, I mean, I don't think kids today would like Stephen Wright.
Or Rick Rude.
They might like him because he's.
I don't know. The kids today don't like. You can't have someone's wife's head on your dick.
But I think they would.
I've always said that.
Yeah, my nana always told me that.
Hello,
Chad. I think this is you.
Okay. I'm going with. And honestly, I don't think people, if you're a younger wrestling fan, understand.
Wait, no, I think it's Pat.
You're right. It's Pat. It goes back. You're right.
I thought we skipped around at one point. Okay, so I don't know. All right, so we're going wrestler, and then we're going comic. I'll go with a current wrestler. I love Tommaso Ciampa. He's one of my favorite people to fucking watch. He kind of wrestles old school way, and he just sells everything there, and I like it. And I like the fact that smaller people are getting a chance to do good shit. And if we're gonna go that way, I want to keep matching them up, but I shouldn't have to match them up. I'm gonna go him and Kyle Kinane. I like the beards. I love Kyle Kinane's style. I love his storytelling, and we both have beautiful voices the same way. So,
got the gravelly voice.
Yes. Next up, South Park. Yeah, I can do it too.
You could probably do good McMahon too, can you?
Chocolate titties. Like, yeah, I can do that one.
My dog just woke up. Lois, it's all right.
Dog's like, no, is that a treat? Chocolate titties?
Yeah, why'd you name your dog Chocolate Titties is what I want to know. I'm going to go with my favorite. I think he's super underrated. Great ring psychologist. One of the best. Jake the Snake Roberts. Come on, man. He was one of my favorites.
Jake.
I like them all. I like crack addict Jake. I like DDP yoga Jake.
You like religious Jake? You like fat Jake on that video where he could barely get into the ring? It was fucking...
I like Jake and the Fat Man. The TV.
But I
like Jake and the Fat Man.
I must say, I did open for Jake the Snake. And,
I thought you meant Jake and the Fat Man. Jake, you opened for him.
Oh, you opened for him at the dojo, right?
Yeah, I don't mean to brag, but yeah, I was at the dojo.
This whole show's about. We're just bragging.
He's the best storyteller I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was a younger crowd, and they didn't really get some of the stories they didn't get who he was talking about, but I couldn't stop. It was amazing how he drew you in. And although I don't think he'd be good at comedy, he should definitely do a one-man show of some sort.
Yeah.
He changed the way promos are because he wasn't screaming. He made it quiet. It was like in comedy, like the moth to the flame thing, where you make sure the audience comes in and listens. And it's more important when he's quiet and is a few words rather than that screaming road warrior bullshit. Like, yeah, I'm happy he did that stuff because it did change everything. And without him, there is no Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Stone Cold 316 came from that, right?
Yeah, because he was shitting on Jake Roberts. He's like, because he was religious. He's like, yo, I hear your Bible and you're John 316, but Austin 316 said I just kicked your ass, and people just lost their minds for that.
By the way, here's a cheap plug. I have I'm a Dick 316 shirts for sale. If you want one, hit me up, DM me. I got you. It's an inside joke with my podcast.
Okay.
Fair enough. And
what's
my favorite
rack me mean too? While we're at it, we're so off my podcast. What does that mean? They were all yelling that when we were on the ski mask thing, and you've yelled it once. I'm sure now I know it's your thing, but I didn't know why we were racking things.
I was making fun of. I was being really obnoxious on Kevin's podcast, and after every take I'd say rack me because Jim Rome used to do it.
Okay.
And
I was going to say, Jim Rome used to say that, and I didn't know why you were saying it. So.
And I was just doing it, and it became a thing. Then everyone started doing it. So I was just like, fuck it. If Howard Stern could go, hey now, which he took from the Larry Sanders show, I'm taking rack me. And that was that simple.
Oh, we can just take things?
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Right.
It's not comedy. It's not like I'm on stage going, rack me.
I'm going to do it. My new thing's going to be, your name's Toby. That's my new line. That was from Roots, and I'm going to yell it now, and that's my thing.
That's catchy.
My new thing's going to be
caught a whip or two.
Chad from Ohio.
And I'm putting Jake the Snake with Daniel Tosh. Early Daniel Tosh's first album is one of my favorites.
I love Tosh, and that's a good team. I don't know. I think that's the one where you could see they're breaking up and who's the heel and who's the good. Like, Tosh is going to get surprised as Jake the Snake's going to fucking DDT him one time and just turn up.
They're going to be on Brutus Beefcake's barbershop, and he's going to go through the window.
Brutus Beefcake will not make my list of anything ever.
He was on the Iron Sheik roast. And
he was there?
He was there. He poured beer on me because.
Of course he was. Ed Leslie's a piece of shit thank God he sucked Hulk Hogan's dick enough to get carried around. Fuck him.
Yeah, I love how you go on these YouTube shoot videos of wrestlers, which is the best thing ever because they're so fucking bitter. And Ed Leslie, Booty Man, whatever you want to call him, he's so fucking bitter and just talks shit about everyone. It's like, well, dude, they were there. You weren't.
Listen, I listened to Bischoff's podcast, to Pritchard's podcast, and to JR's podcast, all the Conrad podcasts that they do about wrestling, and all of them all the time. When Ed Leslie's name comes up, they're like, that piece of shit. They fucking asshole. Without Hogan had certain people that would carry his weed for him. Jimmy Hart did that. Leslie did that. And whoever, the Nasty Boys did that. Whoever would carry his stash for him would always get taken care of. But Ed Leslie was the one that always acted like an asshole because of it. The other ones are all thankful.
Hey, Pat, I'm going to go ahead and name drop for Earl. Earl had Eric Bischoff on his podcast at his house.
Nice. I love Bischoff.
He was awesome. He was there here for like
changed wrestling. He
hours.
changed wrestling. I mean, he's a pioneer. And then destroyed it.
Oh, he was amazing. They had him in stitches
I think Jason Hervey ruined it
for like 2.5 hours until my Royal Rumble idea.
Jason Hervey did not ruin anything. That was just his buddy. They were a team. They did a lot. They made a lot of things that they thought were popular.
He ruined Missy Hyatt's hymen.
Missy Hyman.
Yeah, I'm missing my hymen. You're out of control, dude.
Yeah, I think we named enough people.
You got enough?
Yeah, I think we did it. I think we lost people's interest in our top fives about top one.
I think we lost.
Surprised.
I think we lost people when we started about Kamala an hour ago.
I think we lost people, especially compound people, when they saw me and Chad. Like, oh, the two people we hate when they're on Cumia? Perfect.
You would be surprised the DMs I get. It's all Twitter nonsense.
Oh, I'm kidding. Believe me, they all love it, but it's just so funny. I remember when my first time on there, people were like, oh, finally something worse than Chad Zumock. And I'm like, who's this? And I had to look you up to go, who's worse than me? And it was you.
Because I talk shit. That's why they don't like it. And I don't give a fuck.
No, I'm confident and I laugh at my own jokes. And that's what they hated about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was having fun.
But my favorite tag team of all time is the Road Warriors, Legion of Doom. That'll never, ever change.
Why?
I'll go with the Blade Runners.
The Ultimate Warrior and Sting.
Yeah, but before they were prostitutes, according to Chad.
That was according to you.
I didn't know. No.
That was
prostitutes.
Warrior and Buff Bagwell might have been in the Craigslist casual encounters section of the Atlanta Free Times.
When they were the gay Blade Runners.
The gay Blade Runner.
Well, I think Sting left, and then Warrior was lonely. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know. If you're going to tag team, the best tag team ever is the Dudley Boys.
There it is.
I mean,
They were great as heels. They were great as faces. They were just they could fight any style, but they were just so popular and so over.
And my favorite comedy tag team, and I'm going to take them from all of you, is the Scalar brothers.
Ugh.
Well, I will say my favorite Dudley Boys wasn't necessarily a match, but it's when Sid Vicious came into ECW, and what's the big Dudley, the white guy, Bubba?
Bubba, yeah. Well, I thought you meant like from the old ECW. They had like 10 of them, but yeah, Bubba.
He cut the most amazing promo. You couldn't air it on any network, where he's just calling Sid Vicious a fag, and you got a pretty mouth, boy, for a big blonde Southern dude. And it was just got real disturbing. And then Spike Dudley came out, and then Sid beat them all up. It was, I don't know.
Poor Spike Dudley was just thrown through shit his entire life.
So with that being said, who's your favorite Scalar brother, Earl?
Well, I thought they were great on Roast Battle Season 3. Jesus.
They gave me information I didn't want. They had a show where they would watch like sports movies. I think it was on ESPN Classic or something. And they watched Caddyshack. And I had watched Caddyshack a million times and loved it, but they were the ones who revealed that most people did made up a lot of their own lines and improv stuff except for Rodney, and Rodney had to have everything scripted. And I was like, why did you have to tell me that? I loved thinking that Rodney walked through that dance scene and just shit on all the old people. I was loving the fact that I thought he made that up, and they gave me that. And I'm like, so fuck you two. You didn't need to tell that. You don't have to ruin Rodney's legend by saying that. So fuck off.
See, I heard the opposite. I heard everything was improv but Ted Knight's lines, and he was getting pissed.
Well, yeah, Ted, I mean, as the comics, Ted Knight obviously wasn't improv in any way. But Ted Knight was amazing. And Ted Knight, the incredible thing about that character in that fucking thing is that Ted Knight is supposed to be very serious the entire time. As ridiculous this is happening, even stay in character with that fucking thing is nuts, because the lines don't make any sense. It to me, that's one of the best character. Someone owning their character was him in that role. I mean, he's just amazing as Judge Smales.
And I heard Jim J. Bullock had his lines scripted, and Too Close from Comfort, he couldn't improvise.
Oh my God.
Jim J. Bullock.
Well, yeah, because if he could improvise, he'd be like, why are these women with me? I like that he was a puss hound. They had to keep him away from the ladies. Like, really? Jim J. Bullock?
Well, I thought he might be gay when he said one episode, I just love pussy. It's just like, come on, dude.
I mean, the second he's smoking there, where are the women at? Like, what are we doing here?
Monroe?
He looks pretty good for a guy who has HIV. I mean, like,
they all do now.
Like,
Magic, everyone. I want HIV.
Who's your favorite HIV person? Mine's Pedro from The Real World. Always will be.
I think he died, though.
The best story with Puck. You want your heel and face. And now, what a great turn. Puck turned in face. And you think about Puck was shoving his fingers in the gay man's peanut butter. Fuck, he had the scabies and all that shit. But at the end, he realized, yeah, even dying Mexicans are okay. That was a good story.
I mean, I would say my favorite, this is a category I never thought would come out of my mouth. My favorite HIV celebrity. I'll go with Robin Crosby from Rat.
It's a good call. A deep cut, but it's almost like we set it up. People are like, that's why he wore the shirt. They knew they were going to go to the HIV question.
I'm going to go Charlie Sheen, but the god of HIV, the king is Eazy-E.
No, well, I guess you could say like the hardcore king of it, but like Rock Hudson is the king. He's the godfather of AIDS.
Rock Hudson, I'll give you that. I'm going to give you that. What is that?
Rock Hudson was the OG guy.
He fucking owned AIDS, owned it.
But can you imagine how hard it was to be him? Like, he was supposed to be this womanizing leading man, and back then you couldn't say you were gay back there. Like, you'd be kicked out of the business, and like the internal him and the Brady Bunch dad, the same thing.
Oh yeah, Robert
Reed.
What about
Charlie Sheen was Freddy Krueger? He had AIDS? No,
I was going to say Freddie Mercury, not Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger had AIDS?
Actually, that's how Freddy Krueger died. He had AIDS.
That nothing can stop him, but that I would watch that Nightmare on Elm Street, where nothing can stop him. He's fighting through everything. They can't stop, and then he gets AIDS.
They need to do an origin story of Freddy Krueger, like how he died.
And he gets it the Arthur Ashe way, not the fun way. Like, so he gets it through a blood transfusion. Like, I feel bad for Arthur Ashe. He had to play tennis as a black guy, which is hard enough. And then he doesn't even get AIDS in a cool way. He didn't fuck or do drugs. He just got weird blood.
Actually, I like to change my favorite celebrity, even though I do like Robin Crosby. I'll go with Kevin Peter Hall. Now, some of you may be going, who the hell is Kevin Peter Hall? He's the Predator.
He had AIDS?
He died of a blood transfusion.
Oh, but
the actual Predator.
Hold on, I gotta see if my.
Or was he a predator? What are we saying?
Yeah.
I gotta see if my door is closed. I live in an all-gay building. Hold on one second.
He lives right in West Hollywood. Like all his neighbors are gay.
Okay.
I was like, how is a building gay?
Trust me. When you're in LA, you'll find out. 8 people in my building have died of AIDS. So
there's a place to stay.
yeah, I got a good deal on a condo. That's the only reason I'm here.
That's your favorite AIDS guy?
Well,
Magic didn't make any of our cuts, and he did the best job with it.
Magic, because you know what? He's kind of like a generic AIDS guy. He's like the Creed of AIDS.
Do you believe that he doesn't have AIDS, and that was a thing? Like they're saying that there was a whole thing like that. There's a whole conspiracy about that. He doesn't really have AIDS, and he got in a lot of trouble with money or things like that. So they said, you're going to say that you had AIDS. It was like this crazy conspiracy. I forget exactly how it started, but that's why he's still, think about it. He's healthy. You don't get AIDS and then get like 12 Starbucks and 14 movie theaters. That's not a deal. Like no one else got that.
I mean, I think it affects some people differently. Like the guy from Rat, he got bigger. Like the people I've known have had it.
We had full-blown AIDS. That's what happens. You get bloated on all the AIDS.
So
Tom Hanks' character in Philadelphia was a good AIDS.
Well, does that count if it's scripted?
Yeah, he's just acting. I could act.
Is it scripted? Because now he supposedly has COVID. I think that was telling us that later on he was going to have AIDS. We're just going to say it's COVID. I think that was a hint.
He's got a bad immune system. From
all the AIDS.
Yeah.
And from dancing with a Navy outfit with Antonio Banderas. That was a young Antonio Banderas dancing with him in that scene. The only thing gayer than Tom Hanks in that was Bruce Springsteen's song, Philadelphia. That was a gay-ass song.
I like it. It's kind of a bop.
Yeah, you have to because you live in a gay building. But if you were in a straight building, you could hate that song.
I mean, I wish.
You're the only person that likes the song Philadelphia and Rat.
Well, that's because their last big show was in Philadelphia at the Spectrum.
And Kamala hosted.
That's not why.
And then the roof fell in. Then Nirvana came along. It was just until the Geico commercial came. Now they're back on top, maybe.
Any wrestlers have AIDS?
I'm sure there is.
I wouldn't.
I don't think it was like public if they did.
What's really scary is
Canyon have AIDS?
I don't think so.
I think he was gay and then he had a lot of depression, but I don't know I forget what he died from, but I think he killed himself, right?
Yeah, if you look up wrestlers who died before 50 and it's scary. It's like 100 names that you all recognize. By the way,
wrestlers with AIDS.
Well, I'd like to change my favorite tag team to Billy and Chuck now that we're going down this route.
That ended poorly.
Well, that was my funniest thing I remember about that is when they're just about to announce them as husband and husband. Billy Gunn was like, whoa, wait a minute. We're not gay. And then the whole crowd blew up as if it would be the worst thing if they were gay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then they even had to kind of go like, not there's anything wrong with that, but the crowd's like, there's something so wrong with it. Like that was the wrong audience for it.
I mean, if I was gay, I wouldn't marry you, Chuck. Well, it was just Enrico. That was one of the best acting jobs in wrestling. Him as the gay wedding organizer.
He was and Eric Bischoff pulling it off. Your guy, Bischoff pulling it off as the priest.
Well, he told me when he was on the podcast that no one knew other than Stephanie McMahon that was him as the minister. So not even Billy and Chuck knew. So it was,
Yeah, he talked about it on his podcast where it took him like 6 hours of the makeup too, just to put all that shit on. It was crazy. And he was walking around the back as an old man, and no one knew what the fuck it was.
Yeah. I think they did his makeup or whatever in a broom closet so no one could see it happening. And He was great. For 2.5 hours, I was killing with him. And I rarely kill, but I was just so geeked up that he was in my house until I said, well, he's got to go. So let me get this idea out of my head. And I was like, hey, man, I got an idea for you. And, he's a creative guy. So he gets on the seat on my couch. You can tell he's like interested. I'm like, I know Hulk Hogan's a friend of yours and he's had some problems with the race issue. And I could see him kind of tighten up. And like, what if we brought him back? He did an all Royal Rumble with every black wrestler on the every 2 minutes. They come out 3 to 4 minutes because they're late. And then they come out with chains and cotton candy and they beat him with it. And he looks at me and goes, and then what? I'm like, oh, I don't know. That's as far as I went with it. And then he's like, I got to go.
And you can listen to that episode. It's episode 112 on Inappropriate Earl. I just looked it up. How about that?
I like
Earl?
that it's cotton candy. That was my favorite touch. It can't just be straight cotton. It's got to be cotton candy for the kids.
I just got so excited that like this guy changed wrestling. And, when I think I DM'd him on Twitter thinking he'll never even get back to me. And he's like, yeah, man, I'll come by, 2 days from now. And I was like, oh, shit, I better get prepared. And,
another character Vince should have done is taking Ed Leslie, Bruce the Bar Beefcake, and giving him blackface. And with the same shears and have him come out as N-word Scissorhands. Like, that would have been a killer wrestler. I would have loved N-word Scissorhands. I would have bought the merch. I think it would have been perfect.
Well, I mean, but you say that, like, kiddingly. I used to go to local shows out here. This company was called XPW. And they were like a ripoff of ECW, but 100 times more violent. I mean, think about that. Like, it was – I got uncomfortable watching them do stunts. And they had a tag team, their champions, called the West Side that word.
Yeah.
And they had merch. Like, there were kids in the audience wearing West Side. And I was like, this is crazy, man. They had a gay wrestler whose finishing move, he'd beat you up, and then you'd get in the – instead of getting on your back where they could pin you, you'd be on all fours with your ass in the air, and he would come behind you and pump you 3 times. I mean, they were going for it.
How do you kick out of that?
You don't. The guy's name was Angel. Like, if you look up Angel XPW, like, you'll see some of his matches. He was a little skinny Mexican dude. Their Howard Finkel was a guy who'd come to the ring in a Nazi outfit doing the goose steps.
I think Arquette did a couple matches in XPW when he was getting ready to come back and do all his dumb shit.
And to win the actual championship?
Well, he's pretty good. He did the Comedy Store wrestling show where they had a full ring in the main room of the Comedy Store. He's pretty good.
Well, his new movie is now out, and it's supposed to be amazing. The documentary about him wanting to come back to wrestling, and feels bad that he kind of ruined wrestling for a lot of people when they gave him the belt, which I don't think he ruined. I mean, I think that's a little much, but it was weird. But like, listen, we all have done nothing but talk wrestling, but I don't care who has the belt, and I don't look at it like, oh my God, now they're taking away the validity of this fake soap opera I watch. Chad's just doing duck face selfies the entire fucking time.
Yeah, well, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's just promotion for Ready to Rumble. I get it. But I just think guys like Sting, who'd been in the business at that point 25 years, it's like, wait a minute, I've busted my hump from every end of this country to every Waffle House at 4 a.m, driving to the next gig, and you're going to give the belt to an actor? Like, I can understand. Like,
bro, how many times if you had to open for some guy who's worse than you because his credit was good? Who cares?
But I mean, I get it though. Like, I could see both sides. Like, hey, the movie's coming out. People, they put the belt on them.
More eyes on you, and you look better. So they're there because Arquette's there and they're watching, but then you perform better.
Right? Oh, I agree. But I just, I kind of look at it through like a guy like, say, Scott Steiner, or Rick Steiner, legit wrestlers.
Right. But imagine if they came out and then N-word Scissorhands came out and hit him with a chair. Then it would have been a great match. I'm selling. That's my new merch on Chad's website. N-word Scissorhands. Look for it. Ask for it.
It would sell. I mean,
Jim Stansel will buy a shirt.
On another podcast I do called Podophiles, we talk about we debunk things in history and stuff. And we were talking about the Holocaust, and somebody was trying to debunk that. And we were talking our favorite teams in history, and we were saying that the 38 Nazis were a real good one. And we were trying to get merch for it with the tour of Poland on the back, but nobody would make the shirts.
I mean, Holocaust was the first bringer show.
What?
Oh,
And now I'm doing bits.
now, guys, we're at
Is that
an
a
hour and
bit?
half.
Is that a bit?
That's an old bit. When I lose the crowd, I bring that one out.
I was saying today, because you've seen all those gender reveal things that are going wrong with the planes crashing and stuff. They should have a Holocaust gender reveal.
You imagine the cell phone videos at the Holocaust? Those would have been crazy.
Oh my God. Twitter? So sad.
Hey, by the way, I was doing something on Pandora today. I was uploading something, and Earl, one of your tracks came up. You're up there on Pandora, just to give you a heads up.
Oh, I had no idea. What was that? Can you tell me the site that you said you can track down your money?
It's called Sound Exchange. Pat, you're on there, right?
No, I thought you said Sound Connection, so I signed up for that. I don't know
What is Sound Connection? What did you sign up for?
I don't know. I still haven't gotten the confirmation.
Pat, you have albums online, right, Pat?
I do have albums online. I just learned you can find out how things are doing. I just went on Chartable to find my podcast, and it was higher than I thought it was.
Hey, since we're doing a dual podcast, plug your albums right now.
You can find them anywhere for free. They're on Spotify and all that kind of shit too. There's two. There's called Good Try and then Birthday Like a Funeral. They're both on there.
So what you guys need to do is sign up. Go to Sound Exchange, sign up, and you have money, lots of money. I get lots of money from Sound Exchange, and you guys definitely need to sign up. So I'm just giving you guys a heads up.
How much money do you have to give them so you can get your money?
Nothing. They basically go get your money for you.
How much money did you invest in Sound Exchange, Chad?
Nothing. Why
does this feel like a plug where you're going to sell me something?
Hey, go talk to any artist, any comic, anybody with audio out there, any band. You get these Sound Exchange checks. They're nice. I'm telling you.
I don't speak to other artists.
I should be telling you this off mic, but
No, I know it's my fault. I asked the question.
No,
Yeah.
why? This was actually, I'll guarantee more people that are listening, which are the 12 comics who hate us, will care more about this than wrestling.
you don't know about my audience, my friend. You're gonna be overwhelmed.
I've never been anything but whelmed.
I don't even look at the audience comments. Someone sent me a clip of me and Piper. I think it was like it was when Jim Cornette was a guest, and there was like hundreds of comments. I'm like, oh, I wonder if anyone said anything about me. And it was the word, like, this comic sucks. He's not funny.
The worst thing I ever did was go on Reddit once, and then, I don't like what they're saying about me right there. I'll stay off Reddit forever.
So Earl, since we're doing
go ahead. Sorry.
Since Pat and I are doing a swap cast, you got a good Piper's story that when you did his podcast, Piper's Pit?
Well, it's kind of a funny one, and it keeps up with the homophobia thread. They basically had me on Piper's podcast to just right the ship when he would like lose his train of thought. Like, obviously he has these amazing stories from, 40 years of pro wrestling, but he'd he'd tell you a great Sting story. Yeah, we met him at the Sportatorium and Jim Crockett, and then he'd just start telling the Kerry Von Erich story. So like they would have me on to be like, oh, let's finish that Sting story right first. So we're interviewing Greg the Hammer.
You had to rein him in the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, his memory was there, but he would just lose focus sometimes.
Don't you know? And he would just keep yelling that, and like he would do that in his promos. He'd go somewhere like, "Are you going to finish the promo?" Well, you went to something else.
So
him wearing blackface is one of my favorite things of all time too.
Oh, yeah,
against
Bad News Brown.
Yeah,
who was a legit judo Olympic champion. But we were on with Craig Valentine, and I think Roddy was losing his train of thought, and so was Greg. So the producer's like, Earl, ask a question. I'm like, what do you want me to ask? He's like, anything, just get it going again. So I said, hey, Craig, what'd you think of the Billy and Chuck wedding angle, when they were gay? And for about a half hour, he went on this Ultimate Warrior-like diatribe against gays. And let's just say that segment didn't air.
Whenever I see a woman that's over 50 with like shitty, like a supercuts like haircut, I always call her Greg the Hammer Valentine. Only some of them get it, but like I've done it like at shows, whatever, and you could see people laughing and the woman not, and then usually a guy whispers to her, and you see how mad she gets.
Yeah, it's not really a compliment.
Yeah, I got so drunk in North Carolina.
Intercontinental champion, tag team champion. I'm not calling her a schlub. She's Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Yeah, I got so drunk in Durham, North Carolina once after a show, I think I went home with Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Nice.
Sure was at his beach house.
Once again, Chad, name dropping. Ooh, I had sex with Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Well, that's not like you hear. It's not like you hear that and go, "No way, that didn't happen."
No, without a doubt. Listen, I think Chad's a handsome guy. I think he could pull a Greg the Hammer. Not like in the 80s, but now you could pull a Greg the Hammer.
Hell, I could pull a honky tonk man if I wanted.
Take it fucking easy. All right.
You guys want to wrap this thing up?
Yeah,
no,
we probably
let's
should.
keep going. Let's break down AWA territories next.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Iceman King Parsons' title run. Do we want to keep going? What the fuck's wrong with you, dude?
And while we're doing it, let's talk about the Ha Ha Cafe lineup.
Yeah. You know, I got a funny story about the Ha Ha. Like, and I know it's like I don't want to like it's a local reference to LA, but like I had wrote a really bad review about the club and saying how the owner's awful because he charges you. Yeah, he charges you like he won't let you tape, but he'll videotape your set for like $30. And so I wrote this Yelp review on a comedy website, and it was pretty bad. And I, like an idiot, I did it under my real name. So one night I'm opening up for Adam Hunter. I don't mean to brag. And, I mean Adam Greenberg. My bad. We're keeping it real here. And I'm about to go on stage, and Jack grabs me by the arm. He carries me to the kitchen with his like 2 henchmen. And he takes me to his office and goes, "Did you write this review?" And he's pointing to my name. I'm like, "Jack, I can't lie to you. No, I didn't." he's like, "Why does that have your name on it?" I'm like, "Well, dude, anyone can go on one of these websites and put Lee Iacocca wrote the review." And then he let me go on, and I bombed for about 15 minutes.
By the way, great reference for just to pull out Lee Iacocca is all the people that could have done it.
Yeah, I mean, you know. Knowledge is power. Power is knowledge.
And when you opened for Adam Hunter, I don't mean to one up you. When I opened for Mark Goodman and Martha Quinn, I had the exact same thing. I wrote a Yelp review, and the owner pulled me back. It's an interesting story. I didn't mean to one up you like Eddie Ift.
Well, I hate to one up both of you, but one time when I was hosting an open mic and I was very mean to a fat woman, the next day she went on Yelp, and I was running that club at the time, so I read our Yelp reviews, and she said the host was very cunty and wrote it with an IE. And I said, "Oh, that's adorable." I wrote underneath, and she goes, "If this is the host, it's about time you're fucking funny." I was like, "Oh, thank you."
And you were opening for JJ Jackson, MTV VJ.
Yes. I was opening for Daisy Fuentes.
Well, you know, wait, Sting did a movie with Daisy Fuentes for TNT. That was when Hogan's movies were not doing
Sting, we're back in wrestling. I was like, the guy from the Police?
Well, you know, Sting, the wrestler, he owns the name. Like, he copyright, what am I, Shaq? He copyright the name. And it's a running gag where Sting, the bass player, pays him $1 every year.
That's hilarious. That's very funny.
What a dumb name for 2 people to have.
I know. We're really coming up with some gems for the crowd. Sting's copyright business.
So I think, well, we're going to find out some young comics going to find out that you can do that and go, "I'm going to buy that for $1 a year. I'm going to do it. I'll be Sting."
You guys, I think this would be a funny wrestling podcast if one of us had motivation, income, and desire.
Well, I mean,
that'd be the name of the podcast. Desire.
3 idiots. I mean, it would do well. Probably better than all of our stand-up podcasts.
Yeah. No shit.
We've covered more shit in the way wrestling fans want to hear it, where we're making jokes and having fun with it. Like, our top 5s would be amazing. Like what we just did there. Take it with somebody else. Top 5 wrestlers with cancer would be a great one.
Top 5 wrestlers who fucked ring boys.
Yeah.
Go. Pat Patterson.
Top 5 wrestlers who said the N-word. Like,
I'm writing this down. There's something here.
There is. Like, you know, we could probably make more money on a Patreon doing a wrestling podcast than, you know, any of our stand-up podcasts.
We can call it AIDS EW.
Right. Well, that could. Let me talk to Brody Lee.
Oh, now we're name dropping. You know, fucking Brody Lee. Great. Now
I love him.
You know, I love him. I know his work. But
if there's a producer out there, a guy who wants to put this thing together and make a little scratch on the side, hit us up, and we'll see if we can make it happen.
I would do that podcast in a fucking heartbeat. I would love to talk wrestling with 2 other people that can have fun with it. I've done too many where they get so serious. It's like, come on, guys.
And the 3 of us are kind of heels in comedy too, so it kind of works out really well.
And you know, like heel, any heel name we would do has already been taken. I do have a I do still own Podcast 316. That was my wrestling podcast for a little bit, but
Oh, that's funny.
that was the only
That's
one.
pretty good.
Yeah. So I hate to brag, but I own a thing nobody wants.
Plus, I could get, between Earl and I, we can get some wrestlers on if we wanted.
Yeah, I could probably get Bischoff back, but he hasn't returned my calls last.
I could get Dolph Ziggler.
He's crushing it with that podcast now.
Yeah,
I could get Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah,
I love Dolph Ziggler. If we went for all 5, Ziggler was going to be on my 5. Ziggler's one of my favorite workers to watch.
I went to college with him. Kent State
Was he
University.
that good? I know we're going to do one. Was he that good at wrestling? Was he really amazing at wrestling?
Dude, when I heard he was a pro wrestler, I'm like, well, that makes sense. He was the fucking MAC champion college wrestler. He was like the man. He was the man.
A couple of years ago, Sarah Tiana took me to see him wrestle The Miz at the Forum, and we were like front row, and it was amazing to see it from that. Both of those guys were like, it was like, oh, this is kind of real. Like,
yeah,
I know it's fake or whatever, but like, it was really amazing to watch. And then Lesnar and Rusev wrestled, and to see that up close was like, once again,
two big fucking boys right there.
Dude, they were doing these suplexes to each other. It was like, I don't care if this is fake or not, man. That's got to hurt. So it was kind of neat to see it from that close.
Listen, when I was in college, in Stone Cold and Goldberg were the big thing. I was playing rugby. We would stay in hotels, and then when somebody walked out of their hotel room, we would run and do the Goldberg spear at each other. And even Joe, you fuck people up. At one time, I missed and I hit this man that I thought was my buddy coming out of a room because I was drunk, and I speared this man. And I definitely heard something break. So even if you're like, you can get hurt, is all I'm saying in wrestling.
Oh, yeah, if you watch, and I think it's the hottest crowd I've ever seen on a TV match, the Hogan-Goldberg match from the Georgia Dome. Watch the spear Hogan took. That hurt him, man. Like,
for TV, man. I was going to say, Hogan's part of every hot audience, but him versus The Rock at WrestleMania is the greatest audience. The audience changed what they were going to do.
But see, I think the best reaction I've ever heard on TV was that Georgia Dome Hogan-Gold, because it was just wild, man. Like,
and the only thing that's close is, and I was shocked when it happened, when Triple H first came back from his injury. That was fucking insane when he came back. And then he came back with 80 leather jackets and 4 jean jackets. And then, it's like, all right, you don't need so many jackets.
But yeah, I think the Motorhead music was like the perfect band for him to come out to, even though they're not necessarily that known. Like,
those were Lemmy's only good songs. Were all Triple H's songs.
Yeah, they were. I mean, outside of Ace of Spades and maybe Born to Raise Hell, I couldn't name you one Motorhead song. So
Chad wanted to end this 10 minutes ago.
I love the chemistry. I love it all, and it's like I always want the audience wanting more, but at the same time, it's just like you got a good thing going, keep it going. Why not? But
see, I don't. I want the audience to be just dead.
Yeah. I want to just be like Rock Hudson, Pedro, and all our other favorites.
This is the last time I'm doing this with you guys, so let's get it all in.
Before we end it, we didn't name one lady with AIDS.
That's a tough one.
I know. I forever thought the girl from TLC, Left Eye Lopez, had AIDS, and someone told me no, she did not. But I thought she had AIDS. But there was just that song Waterfalls where they talked about AIDS, but I thought she had AIDS.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, what lady has AIDS?
Because I think in general,
besides Forrest Gump's woman.
Yeah, Jenny.
Jenny had AIDS.
Yeah, Jenny's the only woman I know has AIDS.
Man,
well,
if
Jenny's,
you're that kid, you're like, oh no, Mom, don't die of AIDS. The guy's retarded. Please don't die of AIDS. This is the worst crapshoot ever.
Jenny's my favorite Click 5 song, but now we're getting into boy bands.
Where's that fan fiction? Gump's son. He has to grow up with a retarded dad, and his mom had AIDS.
The only Jenny I know is 8675309.
It's not the only Jenny you know.
You know, I once dialed that number in every conceivable area code until someone named Jenny answered.
He was Jenny, and they hung up. Jenny, hung up. Jenny.
Yeah, it's literally 6 hours till a girl in Northern California like, this is Jenny, now fuck off.
Chad,
that'd be a funny audio sketch.
Did you Google women with AIDS?
Let me pull up women with AIDS.
Famous women with AIDS, not just women. Because I'm going to send you to a shelter or something.
Yeah, there's a girl named Sarah in West Virginia.
She's like, yep, it's me.
Well, I know, there's a crazy documentary. I think it's about the HIV scare in the porn industry. There was this porn actor, Mark Wallace, and he was in total denial that he had it. But he gave HIV to 5 girls, and it's probably the most chilling thing I've ever seen. They show you the scenes that the girls got it from him in, because he only did one scene with each of these girls, so that had to have been. And it's just like it's really it was on Showtime. It's worth watching if you want, like, don't it's not a date night movie.
Right. I'm guessing Chad saw the same name I just saw. I went, whoa, because like it's one that I didn't think was. Who did you get?
I got Amanda Blake from Gunsmoke.
Gunsmoke. Yeah.
Kitty, is this Kitty? A 1960s Gunsmoke show? That's the one who died from AIDS.
But she's the top one.
Yeah, come on, ladies, step it up with the
I put
AIDS.
ladies, and then if you hit the list, it's all men.
I put
Ryan
famous
White
women.
wasn't famous. I mean, he got famous from that weird car ride, but like, wasn't he the one in Texas that got dragged around a bunch?
I thought that was Slappy White from the Friars Club.
Alexis Arquette, but that's not.
She has AIDS?
Yeah.
Well, here's the crazy thing about Alexis Arquette. You ever watch the Tubes video, She's a Beauty?
No.
You've
She's
seen
a
that?
beauty.
He's the little boy in the video. Or he grew up a boy. He's the little kid in the video.
Oh, I forgot Greg Louganis had AIDS. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave
And
it
then
to him.
he smacked his dumb head against that fucking when he was doing the diving board thing, and AIDS got in the water.
Yeah, AIDS got all over the water.
Yep,
Well,
that's
I
why
think
the
this
Chinese
is a good
lost.
time to end it.
Or you
Earl,
don't
what
like the chemistry where you guys talk about real things and I ask who has AIDS? I out of this whole list, there's like no women. Women don't get AIDS.
I feel like we're on Jeopardy right now. Who has AIDS?
Number 14, Rudolph Nureyev. I don't even know who it is, but that guy has AIDS.
Earl, what are your plugs?
My ass.
Yeah.
Let me. It's just Inappropriate Earl on iTunes, and just Earl Skakel, EARLSKAKEL on all social media. That's it.
And follow you at Stand Up Batman on Twitter.
I am not stand-up Batman. Everyone thinks I am. I can't. Not a week goes by where I don't.
Is that a good follow, Stand Up Batman?
It's phenomenal.
All right.
It's funny if you know the LA. It's more LA comedy stuff, but
They hit up New York.
it's an anonymous account that they're funny. I mean, I'll give it to them. I mean, I would respect them more if they did it with their real names, but or him or her. I don't know if it's a team or. But there's a few anonymous accounts that are outing me tooing comics. So they've started a whole new generation of Twitter accounts, I guess.
Yeah.
Those aren't part of my plugs. So
I think that all anyone's gonna remember is who has AIDS and Stand Up Batman. That's gonna be the plugs.
Pat, what are your plugs?
YouTube, follow my channel, Pat Oates channel. All my videos going there. I have a Patreon, Pat Oates Podcast Patreon. I got my Pat Oates Podcast here. I've got Podophiles also on there, and coming soon, I'm going to be part of Miserable Men 2.0.
Are you on that with Levy?
Me, Levy, John Moses, and Kevin Dombrowski. So we're actually gonna be having a Zoom meeting tomorrow, and then start recording next week. So,
all right.
So that'll last
fun.
a week or two, and then this new one called ADW that we'll be doing. There's no way the four of us don't yell. There's no way the four of us don't yell over each other. There's no way that's not gonna happen.
There's too many miserable men on that show for sure.
Yeah. And they're all like one-line sniper type guy, and I'm just gonna talk the whole time, and then I'll keep asking who has AIDS until I find out my answers. People need to know.
Sounds like a good idea.
This was a phenomenal.
Chad, what do you have to plug, Chad?
Oh, yeah. It's just me, Chad Zumock on Twitter, and I have a Patreon myself. It's Sit Down Zumock. And subscribe to all our podcasts. It's free. Hit subscribe. Leave a 5-star review. It's free to do. And enjoy our new podcast when it comes soon.
Do you want to do our commercial again for Sound Exchange that they paid us for?
I'm just trying to help you guys out. You want some cash?
Oh, that wasn't a commercial at the end right there?
No, it was just trying to help out some fellow comrades with some money out there that you have.
Comrade. Are we communists? Nice.
Yeah.
This was enjoyable.
Yeah,
it was.
thanks,
It was
Pat. Nice
way
to meet
better than I thought it was going to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, usually when it's 3 people, we talk over each other, but this was great.
It was.
There it is.
And then Earl, next time we'll do it without Chad, and it'll be even better.
Sorry, Chad. It's a tough business.
You're out. No.
lived in
Anyone
LA.
out there, by the way, and like Chad said, anyone out there who definitely wants to like get no money but produce our wrestling podcast and pay for it yourself and do all the work, we'll take you out. We don't care who you are.
Yeah, we'll put your name out there. We'll we'll retweet you, whatever you need.
Yeah, you don't get to talk though. You don't get to be on it.
Yeah.
So we're clear. We might put your picture up once in a while, but you don't get to say anything.
And
Unless
Pat,
you're
I
that
like
woman
Pat.
from Under the Deck or whatever it's called, then you can do it.
Yeah, Rocky. I'll get bumped for her
Yeah.
on my own podcast.
Yes, we're gonna bump you. It's a Me, Chad, and Rocky, a wrestling podcast. She'll be twirling her hair, going, "I think I like Bret Hart." Oh, that's nice. All right, I think we're done there. I think that's
Sign
the
it
best
off,
way
Pat.
to end it.
Dude, let's talk for a few more hours.
Yeah.
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Who had
Pat,
the best
nice to meet
bubonic
you.
plague? All right, goodbye.